Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, everyone. MissNatasha here. I hope you're doing well. I'm a mental wellness creator and disability advocate, and I am here today to let me just read this very quick. We are briefly going to have a discussion where we are going to explore thoughts on manhood and and those thoughts and feelings about manhood. We're also going to um, go into what influences and shapes a man. And we're going to also ask the question, why do you create instead of hate? So I have a wonderful person here. I'm not going to say his name because he's going to introduce himself. But I have some words that I thought of when I thought of asking you to be a part of this. I thought of some words. I've been given three words, but I thought of four. So we'll just
Okay.
squish it together. So one is aware. One is wise. One is detailed. And one is dedicated. So can
Okay.
you please introduce yourself?
Well, first, of course, I want to say thank you to Miss Natasha for having me. Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate what you're doing in this forum. I think it's needed, it's necessary, and I love the idea of tapping into men and getting their perspective and getting their wisdom.
Mhm.
I think there's a lot there with so many men, and we all have so many different experiences. So I'm happy to share, happy to be here. My name is Chris. I am a long time friend of Miss Natasha and her awesome husband. And yeah, I guess there's so many things that could be said when you're introducing yourself. You can, talk. I can tell you about my education. I can tell you about my family. I have a wife and two little girls. I can tell you about, the many accomplishments, etc., etc. But I think it's important to just kind of say more quality things that we think of ourselves as opposed to our accomplishments, because I find men are very kind of caught up in our accomplishments as opposed to who we are. So I would say I'm a believer, a Christian believer. I'm a man of God. I have a strong faith in what God is doing in my life and what He's doing in others. I would say I am dedicated to my family. I believe in community. I am unperfect and imperfect and struggling every day to be better. um, so by no means am I close to or even approaching the finish line, but every day on the journey, I just move forward. And yeah, happy to be here with you.
Thank you. When you say that, I believe you. I
Awesome.
really do. Some people you're not sure, but I believe you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. So, who or what inspired you to be great?
Whoa. Um, that's a big question.
Hey, that's
Right
coming
off the bat,
from
Miss
me.
Natasha. Big
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Um, it's hard to say a specific person or persons. I think it's important to recognize the impact of many things in our lives at different seasons, right? And I think that's really something I would say in my life. In different seasons, I saw what I needed to be
Mhm.
better or to be who I am today. And so that I would probably say, and it's such a big question because I mean you have to start from childhood, right? Like you got to start right from the beginning, I think is really important. So starting from, seeing how my mother was so dedicated and she was a nurse, she was run off her feet, but she always had time for me. um, so I think that really impacted me from childhood. And as getting older, I think the church impacted me big time because they put a lot of faith in me and my abilities to do things. And as you get older, different people come into your life and different people come out of your life. And that movement and that flow of people could be friends, could be professionals, could be just encounters you have. All of that begins to shape you. I am fortunate I didn't fall into certain groups or certain crowds. I
Mhm.
moved far away from that. My upbringing was very like, I wouldn't say it was strict, but it was definitely very purposeful that I
Mm,
would not be involved in certain things.
mm,
And so because I moved in those directions, I didn't get impacted by those influences. Um, but definitely over time, interacting with different types of people, different workplaces, different experiences, all those pieces and components come together to shape you. And it's
mm,
still shaping me. Like
mm,
I'm undone. I'm still
mm.
unfinished. I still have much more to go and to do. So yeah, and I'm looking forward to the continuous impact that others will have on my life going forward.
Wow, really? Wow. I love that. Thank you. And I was waiting so definitely hard for this question because I know you know how to do this. So I want to
Mm,
I hope that other people can take notes, Men,
mhm.
take notes. The next question is how do you take care of yourself? And what does taking care of yourself look like?
That's an excellent question because I don't think people, especially men, I don't even think men ask the question. I don't even think they ask the question of how do you take care of yourself and what does that look like? Have learned very early that if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And I will always use the analogy of being on an airplane. And they always tell you when that mask drops from the ceiling, um, you need to put it on, you need to put yours on first. So what we think of sometimes is, oh my goodness, I have to give it to my children or my spouse or someone who's in need. If you don't put it on first, you pass out
You
and
can't
you
help.
can't help nobody. So you have to take care of yourself first. When you take care of yourself, then you can take care of others. Now, taking care of yourself first is not selfish because it just means that I am now being able to be more available for other people.
Mhm.
But I have to make sure that I am okay so I can help others. So I don't know, for every person it's a little different, but for me, I really like a lot of like TV and films.
Mhm.
So I sometimes just go to the theater by
Mhm.
myself. By myself, I
Mhm.
make sure I go by myself,
Mhm.
and I will just buy all my snacks and I will enjoy a movie just on my own. And that's something that I like to do. I like to do long walks as well. Again, just by myself to just be um, in my thoughts and to just decompress, etc.
Mhm.
And I think all those things are important. I think also I would say over time, you also things change on how you take care of yourself. You know, what
Mhm.
I may have done 20 years ago is not what I do now to take care of myself, right? So things change and they evolve depending on your life and depending on what you want to do and what you're willing to do. Yeah,
I love that. I knew that I just some people I just knew I wanted to speak to because it will help another man or another woman
absolutely.
understand or another woman
Yeah,
understand another man. So,
yeah, absolutely.
how has fatherhood enhanced your life?
Wow. Oh, that's a big question. How has fatherhood enhanced my life? I think it depends on the person and it depends on your situation and it depends on the circumstances. Um, Unfortunately, if you're in a circumstance where this is not what you wanted, or this is not the direction you want to go in, you will approach it very differently. Um, I am blessed that this is what we wanted together, and this is what I wanted. So I was very happy, but really nervous at the same time because you are essentially responsible for growing another human being, and it's not just you're not growing a child, you're growing a human being. Like they're not children for those who are going to listen and understand. Like children are not children for very long. It's a very short period of time, and then
Mhm.
you realize that you weren't developing a child, you were actually developing an adult or another functioning human being was your job. So for me, it's enhanced. It's definitely created patience, and anybody who's a parent can testify to the level of patience that has to be cultivated and developed, um, and especially for men, because sometimes we are not patient people. But when you have children, you have to be patient. And another thing that I would say, having two children, I can definitely see that you cannot apply the same broad strokes for one as for the other.
Mhm.
And so that's taught me in my own life and in my own journey that not every situation you can treat the same. Even if it looks like it could be the same, it's not the
Mhm.
same. Each of my children are very different people. They grew up in the exact same house. They eat the same food most times. They have the same parents. They go to the same school, and they're still different people.
Mhm.
Um, so that's really when I think of how it is enhanced me. It's taught me a lot of looking at things from a different perspective, even though you're in the same situation.
Yeah.
So it's also it's shown me love, and it's shown how love is displayed differently for each person.
Mm.
So the way I thought I could love one is not the way I can love the other.
Right.
And that just enhanced me in terms of like it's broadened the spectrum of my understanding of love and how to even treat other people. Because sometimes we feel like, oh, I can treat my colleagues this way. It's like, yeah, but they're all different. So I definitely the love aspect of learning different love languages, learning how to love
Mhm.
um, my children has that's really enhanced my life as well. Yeah,
That's great. And I'm so happy for them. And they will then in turn impart that to another,
A-
you know?
absolutely, absolutely.
All right. What does friendship mean to you?
Ooh, friendship. I would say friendship is similar to something else we were just talking about. It changes over time.
Mhm.
It changes over time, and not in terms of maybe the person, but what you need. What I needed 25 years ago is not what I need today. And I think that's a big difference with friendships. I think in this season of my life, I need like I need people to just tell me the truth
Yeah.
and keep me accountable. I
Yeah.
don't really need
Yeah.
the hey, let's go off and do something stupid
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I need I need the no, we're not going to do that because that is stupid. And
Yeah.
you're not going to do that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's in this season, I need that. I need the ones to say, have you considered this?
Yeah.
Or you're moving in the wrong direction. Because I feel as you get older, time is no longer on your side. And I don't feel I have the time or the luxury anymore
Mhm.
to sort of just be like, yeah, yeah, let's just do whatever. No, there's no time for that. I need people who want to tell me the truth, love me through the truth. And you know what? When I'm wrong, you got to tell me I'm wrong. But
Mhm.
don't abandon me. I don't need anyone to abandon me. I
Oh,
need you to be there. Yeah, you can't
oh,
because that's the thing, right?
oh,
I know
oh.
for men, it's a men are very oh I okay, let me speak for myself as a man. I'm very good, and if you ask my friends, I'm very good at cutoff. Like
Yeah.
I'm done, I'm done. I'm done, I'm done. But that can be a problem as well because you don't allow people to grow. And maybe it's just like that season is not right for your friendship, but you can still develop and not abandon each other. So
Yeah.
it's hard, I think, for men are don't like to give a lot of chances. We're not as um, forgiving.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think friendships are really, really, really important, but it gets harder. It's hard for men to have friendships, one,
Yeah.
period. And two, it's hard for them to keep developing them or keep them going over time. And
Mhm.
it's three, very difficult for men as they get older to develop new friendships.
That's right.
And that can be really challenging. Yeah.
I brought up that question because I realized that a lot of people are lonely.
Oh,
Many
man.
men, women, age,
Yes.
young, old. And
Yes.
it's causing a lot of havoc. They're wreaking havoc at work. They're wreaking havoc all over the place instead of looking here,
Mhm, mhm,
here,
mhm.
So thank you for
That
that.
is so true. Yeah.
So I, in the beginning of this journey, had lunch with two men to go over my questions, which was
Hmm.
very insightful. And one of the gentlemen gave me this question, and it's a doozy. So I'd love to know
Okay.
your take on it. How did your relationship with money change after fatherhood?
That's an interesting question. How did my relationship with money? Um, huh. That's a very um heavy question. The reason I say it's heavy because there's so many connotations in that because it depends on where you are
With money?
in
That's
your fatherhood journey and with money. Because
true.
if you're married, marriage itself changes your relationship with money. That
Mm.
that union itself. If you're not and you have children, that sometimes can be a different dynamic because you're trying to support your children that may not be under the same roof as you, and you're
Mm.
still trying to have your life and live as
Oh,
well. So that can be really challenging.
yeah.
So it's I can say for myself, I can't say it changed a whole lot for me, but it could be because I was married for several years before the children entered the picture.
Right.
And now the majority of our funds go towards our children, but I feel I expected that, or
Right.
I expect that to be, right? Like
Right.
I just expect it to happen. You know, going on vacation before it was two people, now it's four. So
Right.
it's double everything cost
Right.
wise. So you have to pivot, you have to rethink all of that. Is
Mm.
it easy? No, because you know what you know what maybe I'll say this too is the question maybe should be a question back of what was your relationship with money before? Because I think if you had
Mm.
a bad relationship with money before, once you become a father, you're gonna have a bad relationship with
Doesn't really
money
change.
after
Yes.
being a father. Like
Wow.
no matter what you do, it's gonna be so it's almost like you need to be prepared and and mend your relationship with money in advance of bringing other human beings into the picture because they take everything.
Oh my, oh my.
Mhm.
This is wonderful. Man, I hope you're listening. All right. When did you find your dominion? Was it before or after becoming a father?
Ooh, that's a big question. Big question. I would say for me, I found my dominion before becoming a father. However, I would also say that I understood my dominion more after becoming a father
Mm-hmm.
because before becoming a father, I developed or was beginning to develop who I am, what I need to be, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But after becoming a father, these people, these new people in your life, begin to determine. They begin to sort of chart your course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's okay. Like I know some people may say, like no, the children need to follow you. But sometimes I feel, and I'm going from the spiritual route now, like
Mm-hmm.
God brings things into play for a reason.
Mm.
So sometimes children come into your life because you just need to alter left. You've been going right, and God's like, this is the time to switch gears, and you need to go left. Um, and that's just the direction God is trying to push you to. Because if you didn't have the children, you wouldn't go that direction. You would just keep going on
Mm-hmm.
your own. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's okay for our family and for our children and for fatherhood to change your trajectory. And it's okay to some men are going to find their dominion after becoming a father. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
that's beautiful. Just find it. Just let something drive you to that direction, right?
Woo!
I think there's too many of us that become fathers before we have no dominion, become a father, we still have no dominion, and we can't lead our families, we can't lead our children, we can't lead our communities. So, if becoming a father helps you to, go in the direction that you need to, wonderful. Let it
Yeah.
take you there.
Yes. Well said. All right. This is another one.
Okay.
As a man, when you hear these words, what comes to your mind? Pride, ego, shame, guilt.
Well, each one of those words is huge. Pride, ego, shame, and guilt. Um, I don't particularly like any of those words.
That's
I think they
okay.
could be seen. I could be seen in. They can mostly seen in a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would say that they're all things that I think men and fathers encounter. I
Mhm,
think they're all things that um, men are impacted by. I
mhm,
think that the world wants us to have like a lot of ego. Men
mhm,
are supposed to be, you know, have a certain look, and you're supposed to have money and like all these sort of things and be proud and have that kind of personality. And that's what but the truth is a lot of men are dealing with shame and guilt. A lot of them are being impacted and really beaten down by shame and guilt on a
mhm,
daily basis.
mhm,
Men of color, especially, have a lot of shame and guilt, and the communities around us and the supports around us are not really able to address that,
mhm,
and men are not addressing it themselves because sometimes you don't even know how,
mhm,
or you don't even you don't feel a certain way, but you're not sure how to quantify that with your shame. There's shame and there's guilt, and you're trying to cover it with pride and ego, and none of those things can do that. Pride and ego can't cover anything. um, so when I hear those words, I definitely see those as words that men struggle with. Men struggle with those concepts, they struggle with those emotions and those feelings.
mhm,
um, and yeah, it can be challenging
mhm.
for men. It's a long road. It's a long road. If you have all those things, if you have all four of those things operating in your life at the same time, it takes time, energy, focus. Maybe you need a therapist. Maybe you need a good friendship support. You need a support group to start like breaking down those elements. But it definitely can be challenging.
Thank you for that. All right. So, where did your influence, excuse me, where did you get your manly influences from?
Hmm. Good question. Again, it goes back to one of my first answers. It depends on the season. I think though that men are visual. So this is maybe for some of the women that might listen here. Men are visual. So they want to see action. They want to see a father um, driving his family somewhere. He wants to see a father walking in the mall with his family or having his baby in his hand. Men are visual. So those are the things I would say for me helped me because, again, men are visual creatures. It doesn't matter if you like that or not, it just is.
Mhm,
Um, and seeing men, I think for me, when I saw a lot of men in relationships, marital relationships, and they were actually happy. I didn't know
that
that was like
was real.
possible. It's like,
Whoa.
someone could write it for me and I could read it, but when I saw it, that made the difference for me. So I think it's important to be visual. I don't do it on purpose for myself per se. I don't walk around with my family to be a visual whatever,
Yeah.
but I am sure that someone saw me with, I went to a worship service. There's like a midweek worship service here in Whitby, and I decided to go there with my oldest daughter. So it's just me and my oldest daughter, together, um, father and daughter,
Yeah.
and somebody may be like, oh, wow, he's like, you know, out with his daughter. But it's like, yeah, you need to see, I'm a father, this is my child, and we're together and we like being together, we like spending time together. She wants to be with her father, I want to be with her. So it being, for me, it was very visual, seeing Men father their children, and it doesn't have to be men I even know, but
Mhm.
just I can see it. I can
Mhm.
tangibly see um, a father, you know, in the mall with this crying baby,
Mhm.
and he's holding them, and he's trying to take their change their shirt or whatever,
Mhm.
and he doesn't just dump the baby off to his
Oh,
wife or to the mother and walk away.
mm-mm.
He's involved. He's a part of it, and um, so I would say for me, it was mainly visual, and it was over time, over like a long period of time. Because I think for men, we need to see things over a long period of time to break some of the generational stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you at some point you'll talk about you probably need to talk about generational stuff,
Yeah.
like because
Wow.
that's a
That's big right
whole
there.
thing in itself, and on how to like how that's impacted people and how it's hindering people from moving forward and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think the visual for me, that's what really helped me to become better.
Representation matters.
Mm-hmm.
In the over the last 5 to 10 years, I've been in and around Black men and women who are doing great things, which has been inspirational because I wouldn't see people of color in certain spaces. And they were out there. It's just that I didn't understand that they were out there. So it started to come to me when I started accepting who I was, whose I was, and who I was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when
Mm-hmm.
it started to all come together. It's beautiful. It's magical when you see those thoughts or words in a book. You see that it's
Mm-hmm.
actually not just fiction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ah, that's great. So, my next question is, how do you navigate hope?
How do I navigate home?
Hope.
Hope. How do I navigate hope? Wow. Oh, that's a big question. That's a huge question.
It's my signature one.
Mm, How do you navigate hope? Well, I would say, oh, you see, I was able to answer the other questions. That this one is big. This one is big. This one is big. This one is big on so many levels. The reason it's big is because a lot of us feel hopeless. We don't feel hope is even attainable or achievable or available. It's not even it's not even a it's not a question, it's not an answer, it's not present in our daily lives. There's a lot of people that are in very bad situations and they cannot conceive of the concept of hope.
That's
It
right.
just seems so far away. Um, I think hope is like water, a
Mm.
glass of water outside. If you leave a glass of water outside, especially in the summer, leave a glass of water outside in the summer, it will eventually evaporate. You have to come back and fill that glass of water repeatedly if you want to keep it full. There is no way that you can just have a glass of hope and just believe you will always have it because you won't. Life is like the sun on a summer day, and it is going to evaporate out of that
Gross.
glass. So you have to come back and you have to fill it. I'm not saying you need to fill like from bottom to top, but if you add 2 teaspoons today, next week another 2 teaspoons. Like sometimes we don't have enough to fill a whole glass. I don't have enough to fill a whole glass. But I can put a tablespoon in today, and maybe tomorrow I can put, a little bit more. And some days, it will grow, and some days the sun really evaporates it, and there's very little in that glass. Um, so I would say for me, it's renewal, constant renewal, and it's hard. As a as a Black male in this society and in this world, it I find that our glass of water evaporates much quicker than others, um, just because of life and the trials and all those other things that come along with it. But I say with people in general, hope can be hard. Hope can be difficult. You have to keep having the right people around you that pour into you. You have to have the right friends, family, community. And I would go as far as, if you don't have that, cut it off. I'm just being blunt. Cut it off. Cut it off. Just because you only have a glass, and you can't have people spilling your glass of water
On a summer day.
on a summer day. Because
Like,
that's the thing about spilling water, eh? On a summer day, you can't
no,
get
it's
it back into the
fun.
glass. It's gone. It's gone. Because when people come around and they deplete you, or they spill you out, you can't get it back. You have to now go find new hope to put back into that glass again, because they've already spilled it out. So, if you have people in your life that are, that needs to cut off, because they're just spilling your glass of water. And water is precious.
Yeah.
Hope is precious.
That is a profound answer.
I had to take a minute, because that's
You
a profound
did. Like, I was
question. It's
like,
a profound question.
wow, okay, wow. Perfectly imperfect.
Imperfectly imperfect. Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Wow. Um, that was amazing. Just because, like, the way you compute is genuous, not disingenuous. So that's why I come to you. And it's just like wonderful that if you're a man out there, to just start to find those people that you can
Mm-hmm.
go to.
Mm-hmm.
Please, I implore you, because
Mm-hmm.
look at this. Like, you could just change your whole life with just a little bit of a tweaking here or there. We don't
Absolutely.
know if it's your spirituality. We don't know if it's your finances. We don't know if it's your family life. But just put that, even the teaspoon of hope.
That's it. That's it.
Oh. And now
That's it.
I ask, before I say my spiel, what would you like to tell the men out there before we close?
Oh, there's so much. So much. I'm gonna keep on the theme of fatherhood to start. What I would say, and I gave this information to a very close friend of mine when he had his first child. I said, and I'll tell men this, especially those who are new fathers, or you're not even a father at all. That's not even on your radar, but maybe one day it could happen. I don't know. But I would say, imprint yourself on your children. And what I'm saying is, when my first child was born, I put my child to bed every night as an infant. And the reason I did that was because they were in their mother's tummy for 9 months. They know their voice, they know their smell, they know all of that. I'm new, I'm foreign to them.
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure that the bond was so tight. I took parental leave. My wife went back to work, and I took parental leave, and it was just me and my daughter for months. And I would implore men, imprint yourself on your children. You won't get another opportunity. Like some people, sometimes we think you get another, there's no other opportunities. There's critical times, when that child is born, you should be holding them. You should be putting them to bed. You should be feeding them. It's a short window you have as a father to really imprint yourself. So when my children hear my voice, they know who I am. And it's not because at 5 years old I now started to interact with them. At like 5 days old or 5 hours old, I was interacting with them. So I would say, from that perspective as a father, it's really important very early as you can. And I know there's different situations and different things that are, that happen. Depending on your situation as a father, you may not be living under the same roof or whatever the case is. But whatever you can do, try your best to imprint yourself as a father on your children. It will change the trajectory of their lives, and it will change the next generation. Because really, you don't want them to repeat our mistakes. We know what we're in and what we've come from. None of us want to repeat that. We want something much better for our children. So I would say my biggest thing is that. Otherwise, as a man, like I would, my biggest other thing I could say off the top of my head right now is we got to let go of our excuses. I think as men, we have way too many excuses of why we can't, why we shouldn't, like all kinds of things. Like, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough education. We give all these kinds of excuses of why we cannot do something. And the truth is, we know as men, when we really determine something, it's going to get done no matter what. So I would say, look at your life. And if you're not happy with the direction you're in, or you're not happy with the direction your family is going, you need to rethink, what are the excuses that are holding me back from moving forward?
Thank you. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I really hope that there's a man out there or a woman out there watching this and be inspired to raise a great young man with co-parenting or marriage, or just being a great man for yourself first, so you could be a
Absolutely.
great father for another later.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do appreciate you, Chris. It was a wonderful interview. And it was a
Oh, it
great
was my pleasure.
conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a wonderful conversation. Absolutely wonderful.
So I'm going to say my spiel now about why
Okay.
I created the Create Don't Hate show.
Okay.
So Create Don't Hate was born out of frustration. The frustration of individuals hating on me because of my differences. I wanted to share a movement of hope, courage, and love to build community and connection in the process. Create Don't Hate is a real practical way of sharing hope to those who have been muted and shut down because of just being who they are. Create Don't Hate is the anthem I used to play to get through the tough times. So again, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
I really appreciate your words and your time.
Thank you. It was wonderful being here. Thank you, Miss Natasha.